Hey, what's going on, everybody? Your boy JC. Everything Thoughts is in the building. Everybody gather around. Tonight's topic is: Are women more attracted to married men or single men? Everybody gathering around. Have a special guest with me tonight, Miss Wells. So, hope everybody's having a blessed day. Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there tomorrow. Hope y'all have a blessed and safe holiday tomorrow. But, you know, everybody gather around, though. We're going to try to do it again, you know. Y'all know what time it is. What's going on, Tammy? What's going on? Hey, what's
Hi
going
there.
on?
Can you, hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome.
But yeah, though, I mean, tonight's topic. Well, introduce yourself to all of the viewers and stuff. You know.
All right. Good evening. My name is Joycelyn Wells, and I'm an author and radio host, and met Jonathan on Facebook. So
Uh-oh.
we are Facebook friends. We've had some conversations, and he extended an invite to be a guest on his show, and here I am.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm proud you. You know, decided to join me tonight. We have a good topic tonight. You know, are women more attracted to married men or single men? Uh, I mean, I could take my spin, or I can allow you to go. Don't really matter to me. Um, but you being a woman, what's your take on it, though? I'll let you start off.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily women are attracted to married men. I think it's the qualities that married men exhibit. Stability, maybe they're more inclined to do things in a set time instead of we'll see, because time is important to them and they don't have a lot of playtime or free time, right? So time is important. They make decisions. Every step they make is calculated because they don't have a lot of time. So I think that's the thing that's more attractive to women. It's not the fact that they're married. It's just those qualities of stability that are put out there.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you on that. I mean, I do agree that a lot of married men that are working on their purpose, and a lot of women they do like that. They do want a man that's about their business, and there are some women that don't have don't have no kind of self esteem to take a man that is married, but it's all on that man to have self respect for himself, self respect for his wife, and just honor his wife, honor his commitment, and honor his vows. So you know, like I said, well, I hear a lot of married men that do talk about women throwing themselves out them. It's hard to really stay faithful because all of a sudden you got all this attention spotlight. But I feel like a man who's honest with himself, who actually committed to his wife, loves his wife. You know, I don't think he's gonna go out there and cheat or even try to entertain outside people.
No, I don't. Excuse me. I don't think so either. And that's kind of the caveat to it, that it has the the intention or breaking the bonds of the marriage comes from the person in the relationship. And if you're talking about a married man, it's him. He's the one that has made the vows, and he's made a commitment to his family, to his wife, and to his family. So he is responsible for honoring that. But a lot of times people aren't honest with themselves about the situations they've chosen for themselves. So they feel they go out and do other things to try to find, those instant gratification or momentary um, feelings of acceptance and love. I mean, this could go a whole bunch of places simply because men are, people want what they want, right? So, but as far as trying to stay on topic, then it hands down, women want that. Women want a man that's about his business. They're not trying to raise him or fix him or get him to do something different or convince him to do something. And it's a difference when dealing with somebody who's about it.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is, like I said, if he's into his wife, he loves her, then he's not gonna get distracted. He's not gonna allow the devil to intervene into the situation of his marriage. I do know a lot of married men that are faithful to their wives. They have been married for a long time, and they just basically just say, you just gotta stay focused and make sure that you love that person and this is the right choice. Because a lot of times people may just be getting married just to say they're married or just to have the title, but when it comes down to getting the responsibility, they're not really all for it, or they're not putting all foot in. They're just putting one foot in and still want to weigh their options. I feel like you're gonna sit up there and make the commitment, have your vows. That's something that you got to be 100% sure this is just your soulmate. There's nobody else that I want. And I don't think I don't think any kind of affair can happen if you focus on her, focus on your family, your business, etc. You're not gonna have time to really
Right.
entertain other types of women.
Oh, of course. But I mean, but a lot of people, a lot of times men are kind of led into marriage by women they're in relationships with, or they believe they have a good woman and they want to keep her, but it may not be the woman for them. So it's a lot of different reasons why people end up in relationships. And but ultimately, it's not about they're not being true to themselves about what they are and their desires are, even to their partner. And that's really one of the things that hurt people, period, because we hide behind false these false hangings, I guess, of who we are. We project this, and it's not true. We don't acknowledge what our desires are. We don't acknowledge what our path is, and we're trying to be pleasing to someone else when we're not even being pleasing to ourselves. So when you're lying to yourself and you're trying to make something out of nothing, it definitely puts you in a tough situation. Um, so I mean, that's just marriage altogether. I mean, some people are in it and they're completely committed to each other, and then others are in it and they're not being fulfilled, um, and they want something else, and so they start seeking both ways. So,
Yeah,
and
I
then
mean,
on the flip side, men like married women too, just because of the time issue. So if there's somebody's going to hang out, it's a married person's got something to lose, so they'd rather have that than a single woman anyway. I believe they'd rather have that myself.
yeah, I mean, what you said about a married woman, I feel like the dude knows the guy. He's cool with the husband. I don't think he's gonna try to cross that boundaries. Even though you do have some guys that don't care, don't have no kind of respect, and will try to go out there and marry a woman. But once again, you're the one that made the vows. It's on you really to stay faithful to your partner. And like I said, just be honest. Like I said, you know this is something that you can't attain. Don't let friends, family, the media push you.
Oh
You got
yeah, absolutely.
you got to decide for yourself. This is what I really want to do. Or we have similar core values. This is what we our vision. Is this what we want down the road, or we just having fun? Like what is this, and
Right.
where it's taking us?
That's one of the that's one of the things I tell people. I ask men when I'm meeting and having conversations and they're married, especially when I was dating a lot, I would always ask when men were married or they had been married or and divorced. I would ask them, so did you choose or did they choose? Because most of the time when the woman chooses and the woman chooses and then they get married, the man is reluctant to get married. He feels obligated to marry her because he's wasted so much of her time and he's obligated to marry her. But when men have met their person, their woman, they're of completion, and they choose, they're less likely to get divorced or to cheat. They're more in it because this is what they've chosen. And men like men like to follow what they've chosen. If they make a decision to turn left and it's a cliff, more than likely they'll probably head for the cliff because that's their choice that they made. They're fine with the choice that they make. But when a choice is made for them, then it becomes, well, I didn't make the choice. I didn't choose this. I can still do whatever I want to do. I'm just in it. So I mean, there are a lot of different pieces of that dynamic on, I guess, and just trying to go back to the focus on why men already established in relationships appear more attractive to people that are single.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like if a woman has to
So,
sit there and drag you to get married, then that's not the woman for you because a man knows what he wants. I mean, he goes out to the store, he knows what kind of shoes he wants, what kind of pizza he wants. And a lot of times you don't have to ask us twice what we want on the menu. We just kind of take the initiative. But
yep.
it's like, for whatever reason, we want to sit there and string a woman along 2, 3, 4 years. And, that's really unacceptable to me. I feel like a man knows. I said 2 years as far as getting everything arranged, but a man knows you're his wife or you just something to play with or you just want to, collect you. But, you know, a man knows, like I said, a man sitting there talking about wait 5 to 10 years.
That's
That's
what I
just,
said. When a man chooses,
yeah, he's supposed to, yeah, he chooses you.
when a man chooses, he sticks with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
if
he
you,
sticks with it. But you do have that wasting, not, I won't say wasting time because there's always a lesson attached to people being together, but there's a lot that's missed out on it because it's self-serving. I mean, man, it is a lot that goes on with those relationships, and there are a lot of red flags, and there are a lot of reasons why people should get out, but they women will stay in because kind of what your guest was saying earlier today, because they're trying to help him be something else. They're trying to, he's a good man, he just needs this. So it's almost, you women almost go into a mothering, some women go into a mothering role of trying to bring a man forward. And you can't do that. I'm the mother of a 16-year-old son. And one thing I always say is like, I'm not dating a man that I'm saying the same thing to that I'm saying to my son. Like, that's not for me. Like, I can't. But a lot of women are like, well, you should help him, you should show him a different way, you should this and you should this. And I'm like, I do that with my son and his friends. Like, no, I'm not, like, I'm like he said earlier, I'm on step 12 and he's on step 2. That's not the guy that has my attention, but somebody on step 12, 14, 16 probably have my attention.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, woman doesn't want to raise them independent. A lot of you guys have sons and daughters. She don't have time to waste. I mean, I feel like you either two with a purpose or step aside because you're really missing out on another man's blessing because you're trying to string her along. And also too, it's not going nowhere. A lot of times, I women know intuition. They know it's not going nowhere, but because they feel like it's gonna get better or feel like they can change a man. Okay, well, I will stick around for 2, 3 years. It's like 2, 3 years out your whole life, you trying to make it work. I'm like, I don't agree with all that. But like I said, to each his own. You got 2, 3 years to, I wouldn't say to waste, but to entertain foolishness. Then, I guess, everybody has different core
Right.
values.
And it takes you off your path. It takes you off your being of purpose when you're standing in place waiting on somebody to something. It stops you from moving forward because you're ultimately waiting for this person to move with you and they can't, whether it's to travel or purchase a home or a car or start retirement savings, whatever it is. If they can't do that, then you're sitting there waiting on them. And everybody has spent time waiting on somebody to do something. Like, I'll go next year when this happens. I'll go this time next year when this happens, or this. You start planning based on somebody else's movement when it's your time, it's your harvest, it's your time to move, but you're waiting. So I totally agree with that, that you don't want to stick around and wait for somebody to catch up with you, because in the meantime, you have a nation to move forward. You've got people to influence. So, those, I mean, but all of those things kind of fit into trying to be what's pleasing to you and what catches your attention. So,
Yeah, though. I mean, but let's go back to far the topic. I mean, I feel
yeah.
like, more single men, they kind of just let themselves glued to not paying no attention to their hygiene, not paying attention to the way they dress, their demeanor. And I just feel like they're not really, focused, and they don't have that kind of vibe, that kind of aura that, that they're wanted or want to be approached. Because you see a lot of guys that marry, you see the wives, making sure he looks well, make sure he's clean, make sure he has a good, something good to eat. Like he's living comfortable, and like a lot of times, a lot of women they may want that, and then you kind of see why a lot of single men are not getting a lot of women because it's just like they're not putting themselves out there enough, or they're lazy, complacent, and you see a lot more guys that are married that put themselves in more sceneries to choose other women.
Well, I think, I mean, hygiene is taught early, right? So, hygiene is one of those things that we're taught about young. So, like a hygiene comes with, your upbringing. That's your raising and child, it comes in your house. So if that's not important to you, then that's not important to you. I mean, that's not something you're going to make important. And it's also not going to be something that's tolerated if you're looking for a job. So that's the tough thing about it, is like, what are the things a woman can affect in a man's life um, that has not been taken care of at home, right? So, that's really tricky, trying to figure out where the line is drawn. I mean, yeah, there's a good meal at home, but you're working and you're taking care of a home that you provide food for. So, yeah, there's going to be food there. But if you're single and you're not bathing or taking care of yourself, your home you're going to get food from is probably your mama's home. You're probably still eating at home, right? So, That's a tricky one. I don't know. I'll be 50 this year. So, and I've dated and I've written about it in my books. And there are a lot of interesting things that I've met about men along the way, married and single, right? So, there's so many dynamics, and it's to the person, whether, what their beliefs are, and, whether they want to explore a relationship, whether long term or temporary, with either one. So,
Yeah, I mean, let's just go back to what your core values are. Just being honest with yourself first. But yeah, let me read some of these comments. Karen said, "But if you only got that way by finding a good woman, a man will change for the right woman." Yeah, that's right, though. Yeah, it's all about what he wants to do within himself.
what's
Terrence
with
said, "If a
him to
woman,
do it, right? What he's capable of doing, right?
yeah." And Terrence said, "If a
Yep.
woman cheats, a man is not doing his job right. If a woman cheats, he has no self-control, double standard." That's not always the case, but for the most
Well,
part,
I mean, but it's still it's an awareness either way. You know that you're going outside of your marriage for something, right? So I'm sure before the cheating happens, there's a conversation. Well, I'd like to think before someone goes outside of their marriage, there's a conversation that happens. So women are more inclined to fall in love with people that they're spending time with, because we're so emotional. We make emotional connections. So we're more inclined to fall in love with and to look forward to and plan and, build those little secret dreams in our head about the person that we're involved with, because that's how we process. And men are usually more disconnected by it. So I don't think it's that men don't have any control. I think that men want what they want, women want what they want. And it's shit. After you are with somebody, it's so temporary. It doesn't even really mean anything. If you have sex with somebody on Tuesday, you forget about them on Wednesday, unless you're building some relationship with them. So what's it really worth to even do it?
yeah, I mean, there's no kind of foundation being built. I mean, like I said, you create your lust more than your love to a person, then it will override it. But like I said before, like I had a video before too where I said if a man is in love with you, he's not gonna cheat on you. And that's how I do stand by that. I'm like, he can have love for you, but he's not gonna be in love with you. You can seek other attention or wants to
Right.
have sex with other women. You know what I'm saying? He's not the one.
Right. I can be completely honest, because I've written about so much of this in my books and stuff, is that I've been single for like 12, 13 years, and my desires were my own desires. Like, there was no way during that time that I could have stopped my desires. Like, the things I wanted are things that I wanted. I was driven. I was going to get it. That's how I was. And then recently, in the past 2 years, I reconnected with a guy that I dated right after high school. And he and I've been in a relationship for 2 years, a little more than 2 years. And since I haven't wanted anyone outside of that. And that's the thing that's surprising. And I've said this to him. I'm so surprised that I haven't had any desires from anyone else. But it becomes a sense of fullness. I'm fulfilled in my relationship with him. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
there's no one can come and get my attention and say, hey, let's go out, let's do this, and hope for something sexual. It's not a chance. I'm like, no, I have everything. This is a great moment for me. It feels really good. I didn't even really know that it could happen. And a lot of times people can't talk about that. They can't be honest about, these are desires that I have. So if you're married and you have desires and you end up hooking up with somebody, or you're single and you hook up with someone married, you ultimately have to decide, this is the path that I'm on. What is my lesson from this? How do I move forward from this? But not to get lost in it and stuck and wake up in 3 years and you're in the same place, right? So I think that's really tough for people to accept, because they feel like something's wrong with them, because they can't stop thinking about it, or they want it. It means something's wrong. It means my husband doesn't love me. He cheated on me. That's not true. Your husband can love you. Your husband can be in love with you. He can. Your wife can love you. Your wife can be in love with you. She can. But I think it's just kind of like, what does it look like? How fulfilled are they in that situation?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I never really condone cheating. That never really solves anything. I feel like y'all should be able to communicate and figure out what y'all are missing out on. Like I said, that's why it's important to know each other's love language, whether it's physical touch, quality time, acts of service. Uh, you know,
Can you still hear
yeah, I
me?
always try to
Oh,
figure
there
out.
you are.
Yeah,
I hear you now. Okay, it's like you froze. I was gonna say that, and that's another thing we're worried about because you said you don't condone cheating. I don't condones cheating, and you're going to be judged by people around you is almost that thing that makes you not want to have a conversation to get you beyond what you've done, right? So, and that's another thing. People don't want to be judged about it. People don't want to feel like they've done something wrong. Their wrong is something they'll have to resolve within themselves and within their partner. Like that's the wrong they have to dissolve. Resolve. So we have to be. So for me, that's I the fact that you say you don't condone it already says there's a judgment on it, but you don't, your judgment doesn't get to trump somebody else's lifestyle or life preference or action within their life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you're married, I'm not sure if you're married and you're like, oh, I would never cheat on my wife, then that's definitely a very personal thing. You'll never cheat on your wife. It doesn't mean the man next to you who is married, who has cheated, is less than a man because he did. That's still just a part of his lesson. It's like somebody has a nice job and they get fired. It doesn't mean they're less than because they got fired. I mean, these
oh
are
no,
bumps in the
I
road.
wasn't.
Oh,
Oh
okay. I
no,
was
it
gonna say
wasn't.
these are.
No, I wasn't
Hmm?
saying like that. I was just saying for me, that's like cheating. That's just something that I don't really care for. You communicate, not get your
Oh
needs met.
yeah,
You know, to go out there and cheat. I mean, men or women, I don't agree with that. Because you potentially give a disease and unwanted pregnancy. And a lot of stuff can be resolved. We just communicate and talk it out.
yeah, absolutely. Communication is the best thing ever, but communication without a getting lost in the emotional aspect of the communication, like without the games of the communication, without the twisting the words and making it something else, without twisting it and making somebody feel like they're crazy. Or communication is the key, but you have to be respectful enough of the words coming from the person you share with, and you have to be able to receive them, whether they're hurtful or not. And the most important thing in communication for me is to speak from an internal space, from an I space, and not a you space. I don't think that you get problem solved by saying you did this, you did this, you did this. There's more action when it's I feel like this when this happens, or you have to speak from a place that you have control over because you can't control somebody else's actions. So you're absolutely right. Communication is key to all of it.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
I can't control anybody's action. I just know what works for me. What I'm not going to
Absolutely.
tolerate with. I have my own core values. I'm my own standards. My own rules, man. So you violate that, that's it. There's no turning back.
Yeah, and you have, I'm sure, meeting people try to change your core values. They want you to think something different. They want you to operate differently. And in those situations, this isn't the person for me. You're like,
I mean,
oh yeah, they're really nice, but this isn't it.
there's a difference between having negotiable and non-negotiable. That's what I mean. Your principles. I don't mean just
Oh
like
yeah.
standard or not so much standards, but your yeah, standards. I'm
Your
just saying your
standards.
core values and what you believe in is stuff that you're not going to agree or negotiate with other people. And cheating is one of
Absolutely.
those.
And absolutely. And people will say to you, people will want you to understand why. I can accept that you've done something. I don't have to understand it. And I don't even have to, it doesn't have to be okay with me. You have to be okay with that. But you're right. There are the non-negotiables, things that you won't stand for and things that you require. And then there's the essence of who you are. Like some things about us we can't change. I'm a free spirit. I am. I love it. And it took me a long time to get here. And a lot of people in dating, men wanted to change the fact that I was a free spirit. Oh, why are you going to go there? What are you going to do this? Changing things that are in essence of me to suit them. So we have to be well aware of that in our partners, especially when you're married, that you're not trying to change them to a comfortable place for you because they still need to be able to live and exist as they intrinsically are designed. And those things will push somebody out to cheat or to be in a relationship outside, because somebody outside the marriage may accept them. Somebody outside of the marriage may go bungee jumping with them, or may travel with them around the world, or and you at home and you don't want to fly or you don't want to cruise. That'll definitely push somebody away from you, to
No,
have them seeking something different.
I wasn't talking. I
Hmm?
wasn't talking about like that. I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like not trying new things. I'm just talking about like hard being lying, disrespectful, and cheating, being
Oh
manipulative.
yeah, but that goes.
I wasn't talking about like going out there and traveling, doing new things. That's always welcome. I'm just.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not saying for you. I'm just saying that we. I mean, lying and cheating. That's stuff that's already established before we even get in the picture. If you lie, you cheat, you steal. That stuff is already out there. No, I mean, nobody wants to be in a relationship and they're okay with their partner lying. Do you think so? Have you met people that are okay with the lies?
I mean, yeah, some people do, but I mean,
Wow.
you got
Oh
some people that's
no.
cool with a man hitting on them or being very abusive just because he's paying the bills. It's like you know.
Oh, well, that's some abusive. That's some mental abuse they probably have going on. That's a different kind of. That's different. They need some help if that's okay, if they're allowing that. But just to be in a relationship with somebody who lies and be okay with it, that's crazy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, let me
But you
read some of
talk
these
to a lot of
comments.
people, so
You said what now?
I say you talk to a lot of people, so it may some people may be okay with it.
Yeah,
I
I do
don't
talk to a
know.
lot of people. So anyway, what's going on, Miss Covington? Princess said that's terrible, but many do prefer a married man. Some for the conquest of taking him from another woman. Some because there's no hassle. It is what it is. And, personally, I can get my own man, and definitely not within the scene.
Let's see. Oh, that was Princess that you were reading.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, Princess. Do you think that the women who are seeing married men want to take them from their wives? Is that the primary goal of it? Or is it just to put themselves in a space that they're receiving something that they haven't had? What do you think about that, Jonathan? Do you think the goal is always to take them from their wives? Like, or no? What do you think that is?
No, I don't.
Based
I
on
don't think.
Princess statement.
I don't think it's so much to take it from the wives. I just feel like they're just not. Hold on, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. Because I'm thinking, like, I don't know that everybody wants that the goal is to take them away.
I mean, but you do have some women that do. You don't really care if he's married or not. They still want to take him.
What they want to take him, like, to make them their own and marry him.
Not so much
What do
married,
they
but
want to
just
take him and do? Like, what do they want to do? Or they just want to spend time with him and receive love from him. So, I mean, and I think that's another thing, where do you receive your love from, right? So, I don't know. Well, anyway, that we can go by beyond that question, that statement. But I just had never thought of it like that. Like women are trying to take a man from somebody. If that's the goal, if their goal is based on another person,
I
or
mean,
is
'cause
it
you got some women
selfish?
that's okay with being a side chick or sharing a man or just having a piece of a man or or some people they just envy your relationship and they want to take control,
Okay.
or satisfy their insecurity.
Okay. So let's see. They
What
know
up,
the
Dan?
situation and don't want to be vulnerable. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess, I mean, there are so many different scenarios, so it could be anything. But I mean, back to the original question, even if the original question was flipped, men prefer a woman. Well, maybe not, because men don't really like the independence that a woman's kind of puts off. So maybe on the flip side, it's different. You think if men prefer women who got it together, right? Or no?
Yeah. I
They
mean,
do.
I don't think men really. I think men care if they know their husband. They're cool with it. They're not gonna try to mess with the wife. But if he doesn't care, then more than likely he's not gonna care about you or your relationship. He just want to get his.
So in your scenario, you thinking the women who, when you posed the question earlier, are you thinking the women who are attracted to these married men know the man's wife and they're still seeing them anyway? Because you said that if the guy is cool with the husband, you've said that twice. So did I miss that in the original statement?
No, I was saying if he like I said, just like the whole Stephen Curry situation, you know, Steph Curry, he's known. Like, I'm not gonna try to break bridges with him because I have more respect for him. It doesn't mean I have respect for Aisha Curry. You know what I'm saying? But because I know Steph Curry, I'm not gonna try to cross that boundary. You know?
Why would you not respect Aisha Curry? Why did
No,
you make
no, no,
that
not so
statement?
much her. I mean, because of who she married to, I would respect both of them. But if it was just like a random woman that said I'm
Oh,
married, then at least I do still gonna try to shoot a shot, unless you know
okay.
who she's married to. You know.
Okay. Okay. I just didn't know why you said that, but okay. All right. So you're saying if it's someone known and you have a admiration of them and what they do,
Yeah.
you're not going. Yeah. So that's what you meant by known. Okay. Okay. Just check. I didn't. I just wanted to
I
follow up.
wasn't saying me. I was just saying,
In general, yeah. I
yeah,
get it. I know what you're saying now. I just look, but I mean, but then there are men out there who would still try to holler at somebody's wife, even if they are known, right? Though there are
yeah,
still the
true.
men that'll still try to get in sideways or whatever, open the door. So yeah, that's always a tricky one. But yeah, I think that I mean this is a very good conversation, and there are women who are open to dating married men, but then there are also women who are against it like 100%. Like I won't date a married man. Um, so, but you know, thinking about what makes the married men, what makes them more attractive, and how did you come up with this topic anyway? What had you talked about this before?
No, I mean I was just brainstorming. But I mean
Okay.
the funny thing is, like I said, I talked to a lot of married men. They have the ring on. They tell the woman that they're married, and the woman still want to get out them though. You know.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then
that's
and
the
she
funny thing.
might. And you know what? And she might still want to go out with him, right? So she might want the attention that he can bring. She might want the opportunities that he can bring. She might it could be anything. You never one of the things that I always said growing up is that you never speak negative about women because you never know where they are in their path. And people are so quick to put negative labels on them and call them either name whore and bitch and slut and so quickly to do that. But then we also have to remember that we're all raised by women and our grandmothers and our great grandmothers. Everybody's a woman and you never know what somebody's path was what, right? You don't know. So when you put these labels on, it comes from our own sense of um, fear of who we are, even of what we're capable of. So, you know, whatever somebody chooses is what they've chosen. And they ultimately have to be okay with God about to ask for forgiveness and to get beyond it. It's not the end all be all of who they are. It doesn't mean that they won't get to their purpose because they had a relationship with a married man or that he won't get to his purpose because he had a relationship with a married woman. You know, so these things are so incident, just small incidents, and just the whole purpose of existing. Like this is just a small little bump in the road of getting to being great, to getting of being God's purpose, and not to get bogged down by them. I think the worst thing that can happen is to be bogged down by somebody wasting your time or making you empty promises or pretending or wooing. That's the worst thing because then you're really losing some momentum. So yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I was saying. You know, like I said, let me read some of these comments. It was Covenant that said no one can take one's husband because he has a choice not to make himself available to women that don't honor marriage. He's not even honoring the marriage by being out there. That's true. Charlie said, I only look for rings. Princess said, yo, yeah, I know women that are genuinely, they are boastful about doing so. Right, there are many equations when it comes to human rationale.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I mean, so I don't know. I think people kind of look for what they want, and you know, this is such an interesting conversation because you never really know what someone's mind is when they get there. And you have men that are married that are unhappy in their marriages and they want to leave and they don't have the courage to leave or they're afraid to leave or they think about the finances and the same reasons with the children and they're just in it and then they find someone that they love and they want to be with and then they start trying to kind of plan their escape. And that's the thing about it. we can harp on people being married and cheating, but then once they're divorced, they're divorced. Like it's over, just like that. But we've spent so much time on the one thing about it that then once it's over, it's over. So all of it was for, we were expecting them to honor their marriage, and they had stopped honoring their marriage long ago, years ago. It had nothing to do with them or the person that they're dating. When they're done with the marriage, they're done with the marriage. One of the
Yeah,
stories I tell about my divorces, it broke my heart when I read my divorce decree, because none of the reasons I stayed were listed in the divorce decree, because of the love, because of the children, because of all of that stuff. None of it was in there. It was split it in half, right? So when people, married or not, decide they're going to enter another relationship or do something different, we don't know where they are in their journey. We don't know. So they just have to make a decision if they're going to stay in it or not. And they probably already made it long before they even started seeing whoever. So we have to be very careful with that.
yeah. Charlie said he should feel that even the best of a man cannot satisfy a woman. I mean, I felt like if she's not getting her needs met, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. You're not spending quality time. You're not making sure that she feels prioritized. Then any woman can feel insecure or feel lack of, So really got to make sure that she
Yeah.
feels, safe, secure, and make sure she, reassured that there's nobody else I want besides you.
I don't think that's, I don't think that's, yeah, I don't think that's all that it is. Like we have to be who we are, and our spouses can't make us that. Our spouses can't give us on our own identity. You know what I'm saying? Like every person was chosen to have a purpose. God chose every one of us, and we have a purpose. If you aren't growing and becoming who you are, you're going to feel less, invisible. Your children don't give you your identity. Your husband doesn't give you an identity. Your husband's job and the amount of money, it doesn't do anything to help solidify you as who you are. You have to go out and do your own things, whether it's what jobs you're making and skills you're picking up, if you're volunteering and doing something, going to college or whatever. You've got to do your own thing, because when it comes to a point of being of your purpose, if you haven't collected the tools along the way, you're not going to be of purpose. So she's just basically saying, I need my own thing. I need some attention. I need people to know that I'm alive. And she could go work at Starbucks and feel fulfilled. She can work at Starbucks from 10 to 12 and leave and be like, man, I did a great job today. We have to have our bags of successes, and they're not connected to anybody else. You have to be great in your own right. You've got to collect your own successes as you go, so that you can have a level of self-efficacy and you can move forward and do what you're supposed to do. So it had nothing to do, her statement had nothing to do with her husband. It had absolutely nothing to do with it. He can't make her great. As great as he is on the basketball court, he plays for attention. Every time he plays for attention. The stands are packed and people are screaming. If the stands were empty, he wouldn't be a great basketball player. None of them would. Everybody wants applause in their life. Every single person wants applause. No one does anything to be invisible. That's not how we're designed. We're social people, and that's where we get a lot of our growth. We get grades in school. We get our 401k statements from our investments. We get all of these things to tell us how great we're doing. But if you're in a situation and you're not getting it based on who you are and what you're doing, you will feel invisible. And a lot of people get lost. It's called depression. It's a big deal I know in the United States, it's a big deal. So he can't do anything for her. Doesn't matter how much money he's got.
Yeah, that's what
I
I was
believe
trying
that.
to say. A lot of that was internally, as far as mentally. I think she was going through anxiety, and I just feel like she wanted to feel, she wanted herself to be, just be himself, not really entertain groupies, and just being a part of the limelight, because he sounded like,
Well, I
damn,
mean,
I want that attention, like he's getting.
I don't think she was making it in reference. I read the article. I read an article and had her quotes in it, but I don't think it's more saying I want the attention that you're getting. It's more I want some attention. I want my own attention. And the reason I can talk about it is because I've felt that. I've been invisible. And my ex-husband, when I was married to him, he's a lawyer. We had 3 beautiful children, amazing house. money. I could spend it how I wanted, when I wanted. And people would be like, you got such a great life. And I would be like, this sucks. I'm going to die in here. This sucks. But that's the truth. And my ex-husband couldn't do anything to flip that. Even when I told him about it, at least Steph Curry says, continue to be transparent. We're going to work through this. At least he was supportive. Mine wasn't even supportive.
Yeah, I mean, I
Whatever,
do.
dude.
I do appreciate how we did cover her and stuff.
Yeah, that's her husband. They have a great marriage. Yeah, absolutely. And she'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, just like I was saying
So,
yesterday, I just feel like I was just like a little a challenge for him, but I think he did a pretty good job, you know.
mhm, absolutely. I think so. He loves her. And that's what we said earlier. When men choose, therefore everything, you can mess up the money, you can be an alcoholic, you can spend time in the residential treatment, you can go for mental health treatment, you can say I need attention. When men choose, they're in it. That's who they love, that's who they want to be with, that's who they're going to take care of. When men are chosen and forced into those situations of marriage, they looking at you like, what you want me to do about that? Because it's not in their wheelhouse of fixing. It's not in who they are to be aware of them on that level. That's the beautiful thing about a relationship. A man is capable of the woman that he chooses. That's the catch to that whole relationship thing. So, but yeah, let me see. You reading the comments? Somebody said, Joycelyn, men don't, let's see. Oh, men don't understand that. They think the woman should be happy because of the money. That's why men are mad at Aisha. But it's not the money.
Yeah, it's not the money.
Thank you, Roderick. Yeah, thank you, Roderick. It's not the money. Because you know what? The man I love, I told him, I'll be homeless with you in a car. I don't care. I love him. I will be with him in a car. The money isn't the thing. So he's absolutely right.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, yeah, like he was right. Like I said, Kobe Bryant, he right about that. You know, not the money. It's just you don't really feel like prioritized. You don't feel needed or wanted in that moment. Like I said yesterday, I mean, it's about to be the end of the season. They're gonna have family trips. They're gonna go out to cruises and stuff. You know, right now he's focusing on his basketball, but at the same time, you still don't want your woman or your wife to feel single or alone. You know.
right. And I mean, and I think, but that's part, isn't that part of the issue with being a spouse of a professional athlete? The number of hours that they practice and travel and all the stuff that's going on. And she's a mom of two small children. So
Right.
there's not a lot of time to be your own person in that. Children are a drain on your energy because they're takers. Children are takers. So, and that's how they're designed. And we know that. But she doesn't have a lot of time to do her own thing, whether it's volunteering somewhere or um, she doesn't. I don't think she's working. I don't know. I don't know her very much. I just listen to the comments, but she doesn't have her own thing that gives her her own sense of self,
She does
and
her.
that's
She's cooking.
yeah. Okay, well, yeah, she had a cookbook, didn't she? She did come out with a cookbook, but to have her own thing of just trying to figure out who she is. And they were really young, I think, when they started dating. And that, to me, that's a trick too. When you're young and you start dating and then you grow up and get married, you don't develop that sense of who you are. I think everything for them has probably been basketball related.
Yeah, and then
His
the fact that
thing.
she hasn't really been able to really develop who she is. That's right. You know, she's been a wife, she's been a mother, but like, who is she? That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand, though. Despite your
Absolutely.
job title, you may be a plumber, you may be an electrician, but who are you at the end of the day? And you're being judged, okay, you're Steph Curry's wife, you know. Hey, I got a
Yep.
name, I'm Aisha,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So
That's
that can be,
tricky. It's
yeah,
tough.
tricky too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. So, but I mean, but even back to what we're talking about, look at Steph Curry is married, and I don't know this, so I'm not saying it, but if you have athletes that are married, and most of the time these women are knockout gorgeous, and they're married, and they'll still figure out how to manage to keep a couple of women in different cities. I think if I were a single woman dating and a professional athlete, I came across his path and he had a wife, I'd probably see him for a little while. Absolutely. Because he's going to give me access to stuff that the single man that I met at the grocery store is not going to give me. He's got money. I can travel. I can get gifts. We can hang out. We're going to have a good time. Yeah, I could see women being attracted to that. Can't you see that? It doesn't mean it's right. It just means It's definitely out there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you want that lifestyle, but it may look good on paper, but you don't know what's going on inside internally in the marriage. You know, but at the
But as
same,
a single
but
woman,
I know for a single woman, yeah, yeah, of course you want that lifestyle,
it don't matter.
even before a week or two. But yeah, that's the devil that's coming into relationships. You know, that's why he got to make sure he stands firm as a man and like reassures her, like, look, you know, yeah, I understand I'm getting all this attention, but I understand I'm with you. I make commitment to you. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is definitely a negative influences in there, but it's something that has to be dealt with. That's something that the man is going to have to deal with if he is in a marriage and he's unhappy in the marriage. And he wants something else. He has to figure that out. But you don't get out of a marriage. You don't get out of a relationship and get in another relationship either, you know. So you have to be very careful about that. All of those things are just really very tricky. So, you know, but it is. So it is.
Yeah, but
It's a great
Kevin said
topic.
you can have money and still be lonely and unhappy mentally. You still need attention and love. Yeah, that's what I was. You know, that's what I try to tell
Yep.
guys. Because you make money doesn't mean that she's getting her needs met, and you know, you got providing is more than just financial. You know, she has mental, emotional needs as well too that need to be met. And it's funny. Like I had an example yesterday. It's funny how we got to go hard for our basketball career, rap career, football career, but it's like on time to our women, we just want to be do the bare minimum. You know.
Right.
They want to prioritize. I mean, even if you look at Steph when he's on the court, he does adjustments. Within the team construct. You know, if they're down by three, he knows the play to go to. But going down to his marriage in general, it's like we kind of flip the fumble and don't know how to manage or navigate through the situation.
Absolutely, because it's not a playbook on it. There's nobody coaching them. It's the two of them, and he's the head of it, and so he's the leader of it, and he stumbles in his leadership. So, and there's
Yeah,
nothing
but
wrong
it's
with
kind of
stumbling
funny
in your
though. It's
leadership.
funny though. It's funny. You can lead a team, a whole bunch of gang of your group of men, but it's like and out the woman's kind of like, it
It's
doesn't work
hard,
that
I
way.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't because I mean, women are we're like delicate flowers. Like women are interesting in their own dynamics, so you can't just be like take a right turn. You tell your teammate go to the right, go to the left, take 2 steps and shoot. You tell a woman go to the right, even before you get the next things out. We're gonna be like, why? I thought the goal was we already talking about what we thought. We're thinking people, right? So and that is right. He is a leader, definitely a leader on the court, and he's probably a leader in the house. He's probably just not sure where he's leading them because he's right now so caught up in another space. He doesn't know. Maybe he thinks the money is what he's doing is enough. I'm providing the money, that's enough. But women, I'll speak from myself as an I space because I know the viewers out there are probably um, snap on me. But I'm a woman and I love the leadership given to me by the man that I'm in a relationship with. He's an amazing leader and he's not a negative leader. He is, if I'm stepping or faltering, he is eloquent in the next moves that he makes to encourage my movement. He is a phenomenal leader. And that's where that's what women want. Men think that they can just walk in our life and say, oh, well, you need to do this, this, and this. That's not leadership. Leadership is in your movements and in your actions and your words. And he doesn't know how to do that in the house. And they're still young. He doesn't know. They're young and got 2 kids and buku money. He's like looking like, damn, is this not enough? But I'm telling you, leadership is when a man can figure out when a man is aware of himself enough that he can lead the woman in his life and lead his family, he is some kind of special. And that's where a lot of people miss out, including myself. I've missed out on that just because we look for it. We women want that strong leadership. And I'm independent. Men tell me, you're so independent. You're not ever going to find a man, or you can't do
Uh,
that. You can't do this. Right? You're too independent.
just because
But
you're
this man,
independent, now
yep,
say just because you're independent don't mean you don't want to be taken care of. You know, what I mean, I don't mean
absolutely.
financially. You want to. and you still want somebody for your
Emotionally.
mostly you still want somebody to take time to take care of you, ask about your day, like candles and someone to snuggle up with. You still got emotional needs as a woman too, you know.
Yeah, just to know that you're just somebody to be aware that you exist, not that your physical self exists, but your thoughts exist, your ideas exist, your just to even just come and fill in those little gaps of to find a way to patch fill those gaps that aren't being met. And that's a big deal. And women, we look and we're like, what the so you want to lead me, but you ain't doing nothing. So what you want me to do nothing? I mean, you're gonna sit here and do nothing for hours, and I'm supposed to sit here and do nothing for hours because you can't figure it out. So that's a tough one, and I think that the Steph Curry probably struggles with that in his house. He's probably phenomenal on the floor, but in the house, he may not be a very good leader. Doesn't mean he's not the leader. It just means he's not a very good one, and that's okay. He'll grow into it. They love each other. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, where he's strong, she's weak, and vice versa. So, it's all about partnership. It's all about communication to see how you're in the same accord. So I feel like they got everything on lock. They just gotta tweak it out. Maybe get some therapy, some counseling, and let you be on the right track.
Yeah, that's it. They have to, get some counseling and just to, but have the fact that she was able to verbalize it. This is the thing. Men ask women what's wrong, and the first thing we say is what? Nothing. And that's not true. Something. Aisha Curry was able to verbalize. I mean, she did it on and that's the
I mean, she's
media, and
human.
that
I
may
don't
not.
have an issue with that. She's human. She has feelings. Just because she has money doesn't mean that she can't have feelings or emotions. That's nothing
Right.
to do with who she is as a person, like you said earlier.
Yep. And so she's able to verbalize what's wrong. And that's one of the things as a woman that I had to learn how to do was to not get caught up in this emotional space of my feelings and just say, hey, I didn't like when this happened and it makes me think this. And just to shut it off like that. But that made me a better communicator because I didn't get lost in the words. And that's one of the places that I think as women that we struggle because we do feel, well, I feel like you this and we're second guessing our intuition and we're going through and I don't second guess I don't second guess anymore. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. I'm not giving somebody else an opportunity to tell me that it's wrong, that I'm wrong when I deal with myself all day. So, but we have got to get better with saying what our problem is or what's bothering us. And then our partner, it will have to be better at receiving it, not receiving it and getting mad about it because it's right or it's wrong or you thinking too much or you blah blah blah, but acknowledging this is a person that I love and I want to be with. They're having a problem. Let's talk through the problem, and that's where your leadership comes in.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's what I'm saying. Like I said, you have an issue, you should be able to communicate. That person's not going to listen to you. She rather keep telling man twice, three times. They would say it was going. So, you know, this something just got to work
It's,
on.
yeah, it is, and but she's got to work on herself too. She can't put the ownership of her becoming great on him. It's not his responsibility. She has to do things to build herself up independent of him. That's how you get to that. So she can't be like, well, he don't do this and he don't do that. Well, first of all, he hasn't been given the gift of programming you. You're programmed. You've got to continue to grow. And maybe she did sacrifice some time for some things she wanted to do for him so he could do what he's doing. But she still has to get to a place of understanding and growing in herself. And that's key to being a woman. We got to grow. We can't get stuck because it's our husband. You mess around, you have your big wedding, your beautiful house, your husband, two kids, and you looking at all of them like, now what? There's got to be something that comes behind that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like you can have everything perfect, but like I said, you still be miserable inside. But yeah, though, I mean, that was the type of woman that a lot of women kind of lead up to, being the marriage couple. But even then, man, everybody got their own issues, problems. There's nothing to ridicule at first, 'cause everybody got their own flaws and shortcomings that they dealing with themselves. Everybody got their own demons they're dealing with. So
yeah,
marginalize that, and telling her, oh, you need to get a divorce from her, and I think that was uncalled for. Everybody got their own insecurities. I don't have an issue with her.
Oh
That's
yeah.
her issue. That's just normal.
You have men out there talking about they wouldn't put up with that and he needed to divorce her and blah blah blah, and they ain't doing nothing. They just say, "Oh, if it were me, this is what I would do." Well, right now you're just trying to figure out how to get the bills paid for the next month. Let's start with that. So before you start giving advice in this realm, let's concentrate on self, right? So you don't give advice on somebody else's relationship, right? You don't. It happened. How do you feel about it? I talked about that to my guy, but the funny thing is, I had already talked to him about it. He knew that about me. He knew that about me, and he was open for it, But I'm like, I'll tell him, you know what? I don't really like the way this felt. What do you think about this? And but and whenever I say it, he'll have the conversation with me. And then sometimes when I'm yucky and having the wrong conversation, I'll just say, well, I'm gonna take a nap. I'll talk to you tomorrow, or we'll talk later, just to avoid the miscommunication and the emotional response to someone who hasn't done anything, holding him responsible for my happiness. He's not responsible for my happiness. He's not responsible for me being fulfilled. He's responsible for me, as in, he's going to love me. That's what his responsibility is. If anything outside of that, it's not his responsibility. I'm still my own person. So, and back to the topic, when people are drawn to men, married men, women are drawn to married men, it's because they're providing them a platform to grow from. And it may not be a foundation with them, but it's definitely an opportunity to do something else, where they're paying for college, paying for bills, buying a car, spending time with, loving them, helping them to uncover and heal from some wounds, whatever it is. You don't knock it, because it could be significant in that moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, though. Yeah, I gotta wrap it up pretty quick. I gotta wrap it
Yeah.
up pretty soon. Yeah, I appreciate you joining me tonight.
Oh, sure. It was great. Thank you. I had a good time.
Once again, tell people how they can find you, reach out to you.
Okay. I'm on Facebook. It's Joycelyn Wells. And I have a page for my radio show. It's BFAM 109.6. You can find that under Joycelyn Wells too. And my books, all that's on my Facebook and my website, joycelynwells.com. So, yeah, it would be cool to connect with some of you. And I'll come through and make some comments on the comments, and we can continue the conversation that way. So thanks,
All right.
Jonathan.
All right. I appreciate you joining me tonight. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure y'all check me out on YouTube. Everything Talks JC. Everybody that want to be a guest, discussion, debate. I'm all for it. And once again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure y'all share this video. Make sure y'all subscribe to Joycelyn YouTube channel as well too. And like I said, everybody have a blessed conversation once again. And y'all
Yes.
be safe. And happy Mother's Day
All
to
right.
all
Good
of
night.
you. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Good night. Bye bye. Good night. Thank you.